Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, everybody. To those that are just joining us from Europe and the UK, Kevin, I see you there. Good afternoon. Um, Thank you, everyone, for joining us this morning. Um, we thought, I guess this is a third webinar in our series for online marketing for mining companies. We thought we would keep them shorter than previous. We sort of racked up 30, 45 minutes in some past. There, hopefully that came back up and running. Cindy, just pop in the chat and let me know. It looks like something might have come unplugged there for a second. I apologize to everybody. 11 minutes. We can certainly make this through in 11 minutes. Wonderful. Thanks, Sydney. Some mining companies. Those of you with us today, many are on the TSX Venture and the CSE. Especially on the ventures, you know, there's a lot of competition for the eyeballs of investors in this day and age. Majority of the companies listed on the venture are dealing in mining and metals. So many investors out there, but then so many stories being told in so many other great companies that for mining companies to really attract investors, it's so important to have an online presence. And it's so important to tell your story. Word of mouth, we know, it's one of the leading reasons why investors purchase shares of mining companies. And in this day and age, especially after the pandemic, so many are spending time online that it's key for everyone to have such a great presence and to utilize a lot of the online marketing tools that are available out there. And we're going to go over them quickly for everybody and provide some key information on them and how you can turn your company into a successful online marketer and capture the attention of these investors. Things we do know here at Stock Marketing, we've been through all of the listings on the TSX Venture and the CSE. We know that 40% of companies listed do not have a mobile-friendly website, which in this day and age is incredibly important. You're dealing with 51% of internet use, I believe, right now is mobile. Everybody's using their phone to research online. And if you think about word of mouth, potential investors may have a lunch with friends, maybe on a phone call. Someone shared a great, public company that's there for them to invest in. They're immediately going to your website. And especially if they're using their cell phone, you want to make sure you have a mobile-friendly website. And we've noticed 40% currently do not have any ability for providing this with a website that they currently have. So something definitely mining companies need to look at and research. There's an easy step through Google to type in your website, your domain name, and Google will tell you whether you're mobile friendly or not. We also know, after researching all the public companies on the TSX Venture and the CSE in mining, less than 50% have social media profiles. And we now know the amount of hours investors are spending on social media accounts such as LinkedIn, Twitter, and others, that it's so important for this to occur. So let's see if we can bring mining companies into connecting them into today's investors. So what we do know this year, reported, Canadians are spending an average of an hour and 46 minutes on social media. So it's key, really key, for companies to realize that these are all platforms that you need to share your story, that your news releases, images from your company, video interviews of your executives, social media are going to be key areas for you to share this information and to start building a following. Pandemics also caused something else we found. Canadians are now spending more than 6 hours a day online. And if you think in the mining industry, PDAC, 2020 didn't occur. Roadshows are not happening. Lunch and learns are not happening. The internet is the safest and fastest way for anybody to get access to investors in this day and age following the pandemic. So these are all areas that are going to be key for mining companies to be successful going forward. As I mentioned earlier, 51% of internet use is now on a mobile phone. If your website has too many pages, if your website is not mobile friendly, if all these things exist, it's going to be very hard for investors in this day and age to really get access to you. And now, with success of major banks with their websites and investing abilities, 68% of Canadians are now doing all their banking and investing online, especially with their mobile phone. So if they're savvy enough to trade stocks online, then they're savvy enough to research your company online. So let's connect the dots. Let's sort of figure out what's important right now the mining companies can do online to attract investors that we know are spending time on their mobile phones and on their desktop computers. Sort of the first thing we want to go over is having a great website. We know it's the first stop that anybody's going to spend when they make their way online to go and learn about a company. And key things, we mentioned mobile friendly. Make sure it's modern, make sure your website is up to date, and make sure people can access it from no matter what they're using. Make sure it's easy to navigate. Some websites over the years, there's too many pages, especially when you're getting into investor areas. If you have a separate page for your financial statements with a separate page for your MD&A, separate page for your AGM information, it should all be on one page. Investors, especially older investors, trying to use a mobile phone, maneuver their way through pages, it's difficult to hit all the buttons. Make sure everything is simple and easy. And it's not a bad thing to have long pages anymore. It's actually key for mobile use right now. You need to get investors where they want to go. Make sure your buttons are there, they're bold, they're large, and make sure you give everybody a chance to maneuver their way, whether they're there to find a recent news release, whether they're there to do some research on your executive bios, whether they're there to sign up for a newsletter. Always a key thing to have on a website. Make sure it's easy and accessible. Also, websites, people love visibility. Make sure there's key images to your property, to your current mining project, whatever's occurring. If there's videos and if they're images, make sure they all get to your website. They tell a story. Everybody learns in different ways, and we've certainly learned that through building websites and keeping track of trends. Some people like video, some people like to read, some people like images. Make sure all three are there as components of your website, and make sure it's exciting. You're telling a story. You're really a storyteller if you're providing online marketing to investors. Make sure your website tells its story and make sure it's up to date. The last thing you want anyone to do is land on your website and your news releases are not there from the past 6 months, or your retired chairman hasn't been replaced in the bio section. Make sure your website is there and make sure your website's always up to date. Great social media platforms, and the things to make sure you remember about social media, they're free. Always key things to do. Take advantage of the current social media platforms. And there's not one better than having a LinkedIn company page right now for investors. 800 million people are registered on LinkedIn. The average salary for LinkedIn users in North America is over $100,000. Make sure you've built a company page on LinkedIn and make sure you populate it with information as often as you have a news release, as a video comes out with your CEO on a certain platform, third parties, whoever's interviewing your CEO. Make sure all these videos, all these news releases, and any key information to your company is posted and up to date as often as possible. and utilize a LinkedIn company page for this. Also key, I've always said, your CEO is incredibly important to the marketing and advertising of your public company. Make sure investors are betting on the horse just as much as they're betting on the jockey. Make sure your jockey, your CEO, has a proper profile filled out on LinkedIn, and make sure he or she is sharing information from your company there. It's so key to have a CEO build a following and make sure that they're posting company content there. A lot of our key CEO clients, Dwayne Parnham, Jonathan Buick, James McIntosh, great people, and their LinkedIn profiles are always up to date and always full of company content. Other social media platforms, and as I said, it's so important to utilize these platforms. Most importantly, utilize all of them. We make sure our clients are across the board on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, because each platform speaks to a different demographic. We know grandparents are on Facebook looking at pictures of grandkids, but guess what? They may just be investors. Instagram, lots of pictures of food and celebrities, but don't forget the affluent people on Instagram may be looking for the next great investment. And Twitter, well, no other platform has people bragging as much as they do on Twitter for what they've just purchased and the stocks they've sold. Twitter is always a key to have everything up to date, and make sure that all your images are sized correctly for these platforms as you post to it. Again, you're telling a story. In mining, lots of great photos from your projects, from any mining equipment you're using, any aerial views of your property, always key things to tell your stories through all these social media platforms. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of people learn by video, some learn by audio. Utilize free YouTube channels and also podcasts. It's incredible the growth of podcasts right now. Everybody's hearing about Joe Rogan and all these other celebrities with podcasts. Right now in the US, more people spend time each week listening to podcasts than they actually do go to church. It was one of the crazy stats that just recently came out. So all of your third-party interviews for your executive on YouTube, make sure they also make their way on audio to podcast channels. Not too difficult to build, something we do here at Stock Marketing. But as people drive their car, jog on a treadmill, walk their dog, they have the ability to listen to audio, and they could be listening to the interviews from your company. So utilize platforms such as YouTube and podcasts as well to capture the attention of investors. And finally, your website has some other great tools that you should be utilizing. First and foremost, and most mining companies do this, collect emails from those that visit your website. Nothing more important in the morning of your news release to make sure you're emailing it to current shareholders and potential shareholders. So always collect emails from your website. And little tips and tricks on websites are something now called web notifications. You may see it in the top right-hand corner of your browser, whether you're using Chrome, you use Safari, Internet Explorer. If you've ever clicked on a website and says, will you allow information to make its way to you into your browser, you may click allow, you may click block. But if you've ever clicked allow, you'll notice that that company can post information right to your browser any time of day. And it's a great tool for public companies right now to have on their website, especially mining companies with the amount of news releases that you post and put out. It's a great way to get right to the browser of a potential investor. So for us, those are 6 key areas that we always cover and always make sure our clients are utilizing when we're marketing public companies to investors and potential shareholders. So today, obviously, we want to do these in 15-minute slots. What I've done is we've put together a bit of a package for the next 6 weeks, and it's completely free. But what I want to do, and for some people, they might have a great website, but they've never taken advantage of social media. Some people have never even thought about putting out a podcast channel for your public company. Over the next 6 weeks, 15 minutes each Tuesday morning, what I want to do with all of you and everybody that's signed up across the board on LinkedIn with us is provide 15 minutes of real in-depth content for you about websites, about making sure you're utilizing LinkedIn, key social media platforms such as Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, how to use YouTube and how to use podcasts to make sure you're building a following there and taking advantage of those that want to learn by video, learn by audio, and little attributes to your website such as email distribution and web notifications. Over the next 6 weeks, I would love for you to join me. Sydney's going to be with me as well. You can sign up on the right-hand side, and it'll give you the opportunity to join us for 15 minutes each week, and we'll have the ability to teach you some more about what's key to a website, and all the interesting things that can go along with it to really build a following and to keep people there, keep it sticky, keep visitors there learning, reading your financial statements, going through recent news releases, learning about your executive, and following along your story and how to use all the social media platforms below. So join us next Tuesday. We would be thrilled for you to be with us next Tuesday, November 9th, 10 a.m. Eastern. Hopefully it's not too early for you on the West Coast. And for probably the next 15 minutes, half hour, Sydney and I will be here. If you have any specific questions at the end of our 15-minute webinar from now and for the next 6 weeks as well, we're here to answer any questions you may have. Sydney's a professional web designer, social media poster for us, and graphic designer. Between the two of us, there's probably nothing we can't solve or answer for you. So if you have any questions, please use the right-hand side in that chat bar and let us know what company you're from, and if you have any specific questions to marketing public companies. My apologies, Gabriella. Hopefully everybody was able to hear us. What we will do, the webinar has been recorded, so it's something we can certainly provide to each of you on LinkedIn. I realize 15 minutes is quick. We can only cover so much depth into each topic, but we would be happy to go further into detail in the next 6 weeks about each and every area of online marketing that we think is important for public companies. Any questions? Is there anybody there? I know Kevin was with us from the UK, or Gabriella. Any of your efforts right now for your public companies? Do you have any questions for what you're doing for marketing, or any comments about what we've discussed today? No? Well, I don't see anything there. Well, we'd be ecstatic if we could have you join us next Tuesday. The link's on the right-hand side, and Sydney's provided. Gabrielle, and my apologies. It's unfortunate the audio is not making its way through to everybody. I've got a bit of a meter here, so I can see when the audio is making its way through. Pat, I will record the video and put it back into the LinkedIn event posting area. Make sure it's there, and I will also, we can actually use LinkedIn Messenger to send everybody a copy and make sure that they have a chance there to view the video, and make sure the link is there so we can have everybody sign up for next Tuesday as well if you'd like to learn more about what to do with websites for public companies and how to build them well and build them so you build a following. Pat, thank you, and thanks for joining us. Any questions, anyone else? Otherwise, we'll make our way out of this and look forward to seeing you next week. Well, thank you for joining us. I don't see any questions on the right-hand side. Sydney, thank you for monitoring there on the right and making sure everybody was having a good time. And we had hopefully no issues. I know the audio went down there for a few minutes. Something we will definitely fix and solve before next Tuesday. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We greatly appreciate your time, and we look forward to seeing you next week.